like, I always got questioned on me and my emotions. And it's like, I was literally known as a crybaby, like when I was younger. Like that's what my family, like that's how they used to tease me, and like they teased me with like feminine, what they thought figured to be like feminine terms and different things like that. So, it's like my mental health never had a chance to actually heal and get better. It only continually added trauma to it. So I did end up seeing a therapist at the age of 13 when I did tell my parents and my counselor that I wanted to kill myself. And, they put me on like distance learning or whatever. And then I saw one and then I was just like, I don't really want to be here. Like this feels ingenuine. Like she was just repeating my questions back to me. And I just felt like, she wasn't the right fit for me. And at that time, I wasn't aware that you were able to switch therapists like that. So obviously I had like one single family member to confide in, and that was my cousin Angela. And she really created an understanding for me, but it's like with people being ourselves, there's only an extent that we're able to help with. And I understand that. Mm-hmm. So at the age of 19, after I had left one of my relationships, I realized, like there was a lot that I felt that I needed to handle and that I needed to bring to the forefront. And a lot of that was mental health issues. And I realized that a lot of it, like came from trauma. So I had a therapist who was very supportive at the time and just like very like willing to like get to know me, and he listened to me, and like I trusted him, and like everything just felt right. Everything felt great. And I moved to Hawaii, and like, I was kind of like still communicating with him while I was out there, but it's kind of like this ideology where it's like, oh, I'm moving to a different state, so things are going to be different for me. But that wasn't the case at all, so it's like not being able to physically see my therapist really affected me in a way to where it's like, it just kind of felt ingenuine. And I feel like that's when our relationship kind of started dissipating. So then when I got back from Hawaii, I obviously still had mental health issues. And I struggled with them probably even worse over there than I did like back home. And so I came back, I ended my relationship with my therapist at that time. And then I moved to Talkspace, and I kind of found someone who is a little bit more like with the times and is a little bit more progressive. And I feel like why I love and I value therapy so much is because, especially modern day therapy, as it's like, there are ways where there are people who specialize what it is that you struggle with. And it's like, for me, my list is quite long. Like, I have a very long list. So when I took this Talkspace quiz, they literally found somebody who was perfect to me. Her name is Heather. I love her so much. I actually haven't talked to her in a minute, but she really did help me, give me a lot of tools in so many areas of my life, as far as like dealing with my childhood trauma, dealing with my trauma as an adult, and just like multiple like things that I've dealt with. Like, for me, I felt like I've always struggled in romantic relationships, and it's just like she was able to help me with that and, just become more mindful, more present, really help for me to separate my irrational mind from my rational mind, acknowledging my inner child, but also, like understanding that anything that I did that may have not been great for myself or for the people around me, I did it because it felt safe to me. And, I feel like that really helped to ground me in a lot of my life experiences. So, with having this toolkit that I have now, I just love therapy so much. And I think that it's been such a great outlet for me that it's like, I don't understand how I lived without it before.
So that being said, what are some things that you do to take care of your mind now, aside from therapy? So it could just be something like how I say, like, give you a hug.
Yeah,
or,
yeah.
Like something that just gives you a hug.
Yeah, so I have a lot of resources that I like to use. So one of my favorite resources would be art. So I really love doing art, whether it's like, I like dancing a lot. I like dancing, so sometimes I'll dance. Sometimes I will sit down and I'll paint, or I'll draw, or, like I'll decorate my home. I think that that's a form of art. I love decorating my home. I love doing my makeup. And, like these are kind of like little like hobbies that I have that really kind of help for me to like be mindful. But one of the things that I find that like really just kind of like centers me with myself is either stretching and like, just being present like while I'm stretching. and then also bike riding, you know, because I feel like any of those moments where you can just have silence and time by yourself and you allow yourself to have the thoughts that you're having and understand that all your thoughts and feelings are valid and it's your choice whether you act on them or not. I feel like that is a moment where you start to really learn a lot about yourself and you really take time to get to know yourself. But not only that, it's just also, you know, constantly reminding yourself that something is only good or bad if you allow it to be. And, you know, you make those decisions. So, you know, there's just a lot of like little cliches, quote unquote, that I have that I keep in my back pocket that really help me to like be mindful of my mental health. One of my favorite ones is, you know, you really shouldn't say the things that you say, create your reality. So, you know, it's like if you constantly guide your energy towards like this little like bad sector, if you will, like, you know, that's exactly what you're going to get. And it's like every word you say, it matters, you know? So it's like, for example, I believe that I used to be, what is the word? That I used to be like an emotional eater. Like I believe that I used to be an emotional eater. And, you know, over time I came to realize like I believe that I'm an emotional eater because I say that I'm an emotional eater, you know? So it's like, what if I just stop saying that I'm an emotional eater? You know, it's like, let's not ignore like the feeling or like the craving or like what it is, but let's just not say I'm an emotional eater. So I noticed that when I said that I wasn't an emotional eater anymore, that kind of like was no longer a thing anymore. Like
because you were speaking it, you were manifesting it.
Exactly. You know, so I feel like that was like one of the biggest like cliches for me is it's like, you know, you create your own reality and you really speak things into existence.
It's 100% true. I completely agree with you on that. I think that we both have been pretty powerful when it comes to manifesting things. And we manifest each other whenever we need each other, which I think is so funny.
Oh my God, it's always so funny to me.
I'm just like thinking about you. I'm like, I wonder how Zach is doing. And then you send me a text or you like call me immediately after. It's like crazy.
Yes. I love speaking each other into existence. It's great.
Yeah, it's so fun. So I want to talk a little bit about you kind of touched on it, but your trans experience. I want to know, like, you came out really early.
Yes.
How old were you when you first came out, and how did you come out? How did you go about that?
Yeah, so, the first time I ever came out was to my cousin Angela, and she was, like, the first person to know. It was her first, and then it was my friend Vanessa in the 6th grade. And I was dating someone who was like the neighbor's friend's son or whatever. And I was dating him at like the age of like 10 or 11. So I knew very early that I liked the boys. Wow. I really liked the boys. But obviously that relationship ended and didn't last because, hello, I was 10. So that was the first time I came out. And then from there on out, like, I kind of just got more comfortable at school because I was just like, well, it's just me here, you know? And it's like,
yeah,
no one's, like, people are going to judge me whether they like it or not, so whatever. I was kind of open about it in school. I came out as bisexual to my friend Vanessa and Angela. So I came out as bisexual at a very young age, and then I think in either my late 7th grade year or early 8th grade year, I finally like came out to my mom. But for me, I kind of feel like everybody had known, like, I feel like everybody had known. So I had come out to my biological mom, and basically how I came out to her was like, oh, there's this boy that I met online, and I think he's cute. And we're not going to meet in person, but we have a cute little, like, online relationship or whatever. And then she was like, okay, like, just as long as, like, as long as you're safe and, like, you don't do anything to, like, harm yourself and, like, you know, you just be careful. Like, that's all that I want from you. And then I told my other mom, and she was like, you know, I knew, like, when I bought you that eyeliner, like, we had always, like, kind of known. And, like, you know, I even went to your mom saying, like, you know, I think that they might be gay, you know, because it's like at that time, if you were born male, you could only be gay. So, you know, they suspected that like I was gay at a young age, but I didn't come out to them till like 12 or 13. And it's like prior to this, like I was very open about like dating girls, and like I dated like maybe like 2 or 3 or 4 girls like between like 6th grade to like to like ninth grade. So it's like, there were girls in between, but it was just seen that I was gay.
I'm sorry. Hold on, pause. I just think it's hilarious that you, for some reason, had the idea that I was some kind of playboy out here.
Yes.
When in reality, I've never been much of a playboy. It's all been you. Like, you're out here being a playboy bunny out
here.
Yes. Seducing all the boys and all the girls.
And all the girls. And it's like, did I kiss them? No, not really at all. I had no interest. Were we just really, really good friends? Yes.
Yes.
But to get back to me coming out, the last time I came out was in sophomore year, and I was kind of like open about like being pansexual. So it's like from there, like I had decided that I was pansexual, and I kind of had like stated that like among my friend group, and like my partners knew, and like, I was mostly openly pansexual, but during that time, being pansexual was really laughed at, because it's like, oh, so you're interested in pans, or like, what does that even mean? Oh, isn't that just what bisexual is? Yeah, I got a lot of that a lot of the time. So, I basically just told people that I was gay because it was easier. Like, it felt easier for me. Mm-hmm. So I kind of like shut out my reality because it was easier for people to understand that I was a gay boy.
It was better received.
Yeah, rather than being pansexual. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I mostly did it for other people's wants and or needs. And then I opened up to my parents about being pansexual, like later on, like after I was graduated high school, like I was in college and I was going to get my beauty license. And there was like me and this girl who just like kept eyeing each other. And I was just like, ooh, like I'm really into her. Like, and then she gave me her number. Like she gave me her number and it was really cute. So I came out to my parents as like pansexual and they're like, oh, I thought you were gay. And I was just like, oh no, no. I was like, it's always just been easier to say that I was gay, but no. So, yeah, I've come out quite a few times. The last time that I came out had nothing to do with my sexual identity and more so to do with my gender identity was as non-binary. And, that was really well accepted by everybody around me. I feel like for my parents, because they still kind of live in, like, the 80s and the 90s, like, and what it was to be gay then, like, even earlier than that, 70s. Like, it was different for them, than what it is now. So it's like it came as a surprise to them, and they just kind of asked a lot of questions, which I'm very grateful for. And they're still like grasping like the whole they them pronoun things and like proper terminology when it comes to the NB community. So yeah, but everybody else is like, yeah, I could see that, and it's like what really inspired me to come out was, well, first of all, and how I have, like, I love personifying inanimate objects. That kind of relates to my movie
yes.
fever. But I love
yes.
personifying inanimate objects. So, like, a lot of my objects became non-binary to me. Like, a lot of my objects were just non-binary. Like, my car was non-binary. And, like, its name is Troy. Their name is Troy. And, like, my blender is non-binary and their name is Christoph. Like, I had things that I made non-binary because I didn't want to put a gender on them, but I just gave them a name.
Yes.
And so then I had met my partner who is non-binary and they go by they, them pronouns. And, like, they are just amazing and phenomenal. And it's like, wow, like, they're living their truth and, like, they look amazing. So that kind of inspired me to come out as non-binary, which made me open up to everybody. And yeah.
So you said that your parents, because they're very much stuck in like the 90s and 80s kind of. What do you think differs between your lesbian parents' like mindset as opposed to yours, like a much younger, like you're Gen Z.
Yeah.
Yeah, a Gen Z
or Gen
queer
X?
person.
Gen Z queer person. Am I Gen Z? I'm like right in between Gen Z and... Okay, anyways, we won't go on this tangent. But to answer your question, So it's actually really funny because where my parents come from, I don't think that they consider themselves lesbian.
Ah,
and here's the reason
I apologize.
why.